We'll have to sign you up to talk about it. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. I suppose I'm the host, but I don't really feel like the host. More like who's the fucker that runs the circus?
The ringleader.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the ringleader.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
I don't go to the circus. I feel bad for the elephants. Like, I've always wanted to do the elephant ride, but I feel like bad for them.
They've got rid of them all, dude. There's not a single one still in existence.
Elephant rides or circuses?
I think circuses with animals.
Well, what the fuck's the point if you're not abusing animals?
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
Be out there beyond the case. Yeah.
I feel bad about it, but I mean, that still seems like the entire point of it. You know what I mean?
Maybe carnies are the reason.
Dude, that seems like kind of the point of whatever. All right. Anyway, I am the honcho. What?
That's trademark, probably.
Am I? Fuck. All right, I'm the podcast dude. Anyway, joining me today, Mr. Matt Hopkins from Kansas City, and from Omaha, we have Mr. Joel.
Hi.
And sitting in the same room as me, but not participating and not even wearing earbuds, so he can't hear what you guys are saying, Mr. Kim.
Hello.
He says hello. Jesus.
Hi, Kim.
He would participate, but he is working.
He's busy doing your work right now.
He's doing his work. He edits his own shit. Okay, he's not editing my shit. He's working on Practical Shooting Training Group content, some quality content, hopefully. So. It is a quality, Kim?
Quality.
Quality?
Hot fire quality.
Hot fire quality? On the 1 to 10 scale, where would you put it?
Jailbait out of 10.
Jailbait out of 10? That's
Holy shit.
That's
what
not.
is that?
I don't even know. I told him I wanted jailbait splits when I was shooting, and that term has kind of caught on and been, I believe, misappropriated a bit.
Yes, it would appear so.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Anyway, I think I'll go first today because I never go first. We were discussing before the show a video that you guys saw on the social media, and I think it deserves some discussion. So, Joel, describe for the people what video you saw and what it is you'd like to talk about with me.
So there's targets spread out, like some partials, different distances, whatever. You draw and shot, I don't know, like 5 targets.
This was me in the video you saw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Draw and shot like 5 targets, got a time. Then you moved over to a simulated, like a starting position over to the left. And then timer went off, you started moving and shooting at the same time. You shot that same array, and I think you were like a 10th faster, whatever, about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
For like
all right.
Dramatic movement while you were doing it.
So I'll provide a little context for this video, because it isn't apparent from the video what we were doing. So we didn't set it up. Kim set up that drill. So it is shooting on the move from Skills and Drills Reloaded. We videoed his explanation and him shooting it. So it's like basically the way the drill is you start in one spot and you finish in another. Okay? And the way it works is you shoot one target from the finished spot and you shoot the other stuff from wherever you like, basically. You with me so far? So the way that's formulated is you have to go to the spot where you finish, and you have to shoot the finished target from the finished spot. So it incentivizes you to shoot and move, right? So that's what it was a shooting on the move. That was the drill. Okay, so we videoed explanation. He shot it. And then we began training because, we don't just shoot videos. We like to train and get better. So we were shooting on this drill a little bit, I don't know, maybe half an hour. There was 3 guys in rotation, filling mags and shooting and kind of talking about it, pushing each other a bit. Kim was shooting his optics gun, and I was doing my best to make him my bitch with my production gun, which is not an easy, that's a tall order. So
with those partials, it definitely would be.
Dude. That Korean motherfucker, like, he shoots on the move like crazy. I mean, Jesus, you guys saw his Area 3 video? Winning every stage with an optics gun? and shooting
Yes.
on the move. Like Jesus. So I'm
Yeah, I
like,
saw
well,
that.
I'm going to chase this guy a little bit. So that was, I mean, that was what was going on. And for some, I felt like was pushing pretty hard. I was pushing myself hard and shooting really aggressively, and I thought it would be interesting just to like. I'm curious, like let's stand and shoot. So that what the video you guys saw was not the first take. It was like I stood there and shot everything static, and then I shot everything moving, just because I felt like I was transitioning slowly. When I was moving, I felt like my target transitions were slower than when I was static. That was my feeling, and I was curious how much slower. Were you guys with me? Like I felt I was splitting on the targets. There was one at maybe 15 yards in the back that I felt like I was maybe splitting on kind of slowly compared to what I would think it should be static. But I felt like my transitions were a little slower, and I was curious how much. So I stood static and I shot. I just shot all the targets, and I got a time that was very similar to the time I was getting moving after we'd been training on it a little bit and pushing. And I was very surprised. I mean, I've been doing this shit a long time, and that surprised me. So we did a few repeat trials, and I could shoot the same time static as I could moving, covering 10 yards of movement, shooting the same set of targets but moving 10 yards. So it was very interesting to do that, and produce the same time static as moving.
Was that across all three people or just you?
That's an interesting question. The third guy's not a strong guy. Kim, did you happen to
Yeah, I
do
know,
the
but-
same experiment that I did?
Yes, I did.
And did you get the same time?
No, I was consistently about 0.2 seconds slower.
So you were slower moving.
Yeah, 0.2 seconds.
Okay.
Draw.
So Kim was just a bit slower, but not a ton.
Do you know about the third guy?
It's not a guy you'd care about the result.
I do kind of because I know his skill level.
Oh, okay. I believe he was he was substantially slower moving.
Like seconds or a half
Not
second?
maybe not multiple seconds, but a second or so. And in the
Okay.
course of a drill that was running mid-threes for me.
Right.
So yeah, it was a bit slower.
Okay.
So that, I mean, it was I should say it was shocking to me. Now the points weren't the same. I had a much harder time shooting points moving, but I could engage the targets with the same level of aggression. It turned out moving. So
Did they factor the same basically with the points?
No, with the point situation, it was probably a little better to stand still, but that's not something that means that much. You know what I mean? Because in a stage,
I know
you'd have to
that's
move
not the
anyway.
point. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Did it change how you look at like shooting on the move, or will that change maybe how you train towards it in the future at all?
Well, I'm going to start revealing some practical shooting training group content. Well, Kim and I we've been shooting a lot of drills, and when we're not making video content, we'll do training. And the way I train, if I'm training with a strong guy over some time, so if I'm training with Gaston or Kim, or we haven't done this, Hopkins, we haven't trained together in a few years, but the way I like to do it now is we'll have a guy run the training. So it doesn't really matter how many people are there. So if in theory we had Hopkins and me and Kim and maybe Gaston flew up here, or maybe Joel came, whoever, it'd be like, okay, we're doing a 2-hour segment. Then it's you run the training. Hopkins, you run the training. Or hey, Kim, you run the training. And then that guy tells you what the training is, and it doesn't matter if you think it's the dumbest thing in the world, you do it. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So one of the training segments that Kim ran for us was a shooting on the move exercise where we set up a lot of targets and shot them on the move. That was part of what was stipulated, is you have to shoot them on the move. But instead of just shooting hit factor or shooting it and trying to shoot it better, we experimented with by fixing a bunch of variables and then changing the rest. Okay, so for example, it would be shoot this exercise at your match pace or your comfortable pace, and now we're going to fix your movement speed. Like you're going to move X speed, and you're not allowed to deviate from that. So like if it's a fast walk pace to shoot the targets, you're going to shoot that pace. And we're not going to be super judgmental about the hits. We're just going to analyze what you're feeling. Right? Maybe you'll take long steps, maybe you'll take short steps. Maybe, faster, slower, whatever. We're going to only experiment with the movement. Or there'll be another one where it's like you're going to shoot a pair of shots like that, like the doubles drill, Joel. You'll shoot
Yep.
that. So you'll shoot that pace, or like you can do the doubles drill on a target to warm up for a second, and then you're going to fix your shooting to that pace, irrespective of target distance or difficulty. When your sights line up on that target, you hammer it just like that doubles pace. As an example. So experimenting with movement speed, fixing that to a point, or shooting speed, fixing that to a point, or maybe it'd be like just only precision. Like you're only experimenting with like the sights coming down and working precision. So this week we trained in that style for one of the blocks of training that Kim ran. And what I'd found is I can shoot and move more aggressively than I am. You get what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it was a productive week in that way. So Kim ran one of the blocks of training, and we did that. So that'd been going on this week, and that's kind of fresh in my mind. So that helped my aggression level when shooting while moving.
So that's like pushing you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you guys see like Kim is he's been spitting fire this year, training in basically. Juancik trained with me earlier this year, and he's taken a lot of those concepts and ideas that we've worked on, and he's really run with it. All right, so he's doing some fun stuff experimentally for shooting skill development. So that's one of the things that we did this week.
I like it.
Yes.
How
All right.
comfortable with the shooting were you? Were you able to call your shots fine and everything, or?
Yeah, so I did not run into a situation. I can't think of anything moving or anything where it's like I was surprised or not able to call shots.
Okay.
I'm able to call stuff. I mean, it might be stuff that I don't like, but I have a pretty good sense of where shots are going.
Okay.
For sure. But a lot of that, I mean, I've changed up some technique and some shooting style stuff, so that has become easier for me. If you know what I mean, Matt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm
I
shooting target focus only now.
I know
only.
I've talked to you about it.
Yes.
I don't know if you've talked about it on the podcast.
I have not.
He's talked to me about it. I tried it. It did not go as expected. I'm like, well, I'll try that. I'm like,
Yeah. I'm just experimentally. I'm fucking around with that now. It's been interesting and productive. So that was this week in shooting for me. A lot, like shooting wise, it's been 8 or 10 hours a day on a range for me for the last week, working only on like stuff to develop me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like I'm not jammed up with other people right now, so it's like I'm working on development. Okay. Matt.
You want me to go next?
Yeah, what'd you do this week? Or maybe you're triggered by something.
I mean, it's not a trigger or anything. It's kind of like
It's kind of just something that makes you just incredibly angry. But you wouldn't say triggered.
Like, let's say frustrated. Because
All right.
it doesn't
Frustration
happen.
warning, people.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, wow, wow, wow. Frustration alert.
All right, so I want to talk about activators at local matches.
Okay.
So like swingers, bobbers, clamshells, all that stuff. I think there should be, let's not say a rule, but like a best practices, like PCC stuff, that you can only have maximum of 1 per stage at like a local or level 1 match. Because they don't get the time they need to be set up correctly, so they work the same for everybody. They usually break halfway through the match, and you have to piece them back together. And it's not like the same activator or anything for everybody. So I just think like there should be 1 activating target per stage, or none. I mean, don't throw 3 or 4 or 6 on the same stage. It'll never run right, and that'll always be the backup out of like a 6-stage match or something.
yeah, reset suffers.
Do you have that happening a lot? Like this might be regional.
Not 6, but we'll see stages where you see 3 movers set up on 1 stage.
And and the problem you'd say is, well, I mean, put it this way: why would I not take your rule and apply it to a major match?
It's the time to bulletproof them before you start shooting.
So would the rule
or dedicated ROs on the stages to know how to reset and to tell everybody how to do it.
Okay, so at my club, the clubs I typically attend anyway, if there's an activator that is not in use at the club regularly, they will advise how to set the activator during the shooters meeting. Is that not
Who
a
listens
thing?
to those?
I don't. It depends on. I typically don't. I'm not gonna lie. That shouldn't surprise anybody. But I
Yeah.
mean, if it's the right shooters meeting, like it will like the shooter meetings that I like mention only those sorts of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where
that
it's
makes
like,
sense.
hey, we have this thing on stage 5, and we have this thing on stage 2, and this is how those things work. And then there's a disappearing target on stage 3, and make sure you find the appropriate spot for that on the scoring thing.
Yeah, but you just listed one per stage, and that's
That was
perfectly
just
fine.
that was just a for example.
Sure. Do you get allowed with multiple activated targets on stages though?
At club matches, no. How many
Yeah.
swingers did we have at nationals last year, or movers?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think that many.
I don't either. Joel, do
No.
you guys get a lot of setup with activators? Like
We
one
normally
guy
just
will
do
drag.
like one per
3 of them
stage would
out?
be it. No, one per stage. And I think that's just a match management thing. Because otherwise, if you have, in my mind, like 3 of them on a stage, then it's going to take forever to reset that. And then it just, like you have backups and all that stuff. So just to keep things moving smoothly, we
Yeah.
don't.
So a lot of clubs have already come up with this, like from experience. It's just
Mhm.
kind of like to let people know that haven't done it that, it's probably not the best idea to do.
Best practice is you should definitely consider the reset time and training of shooters, like to reset stuff when you build the fucking stages.
Yes.
And does your clubs that you go to, do they set up the day before or no?
In the spring and summer and fall.
What?
Not in the winter, but they do every other time of the year.
So even then, that's not enough to kind of figure it out, you would
No,
say?
not usually. Not usually.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's an issue, right?
Doesn't have to be. It can be though.
Well, I hate, I mean, me being me, I hate for the solution to be don't use moving targets or make the stages or try to make the stages interesting. Because most matches I go to, I'm like, the stages could use a little bit of spice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you don't have to add 3 different spices in there. You can add 1 and probably be okay.
One would be more than 0. But I'm not. It doesn't even have to be
See?
moving targets. I just mean generally speaking, most stages I look at are fairly simple, and not super interesting.
That's a culture though.
That is the culture. It's
And
like,
it honestly is. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like if one target there is good, like 4 would be better.
4 is better, yeah.
Yeah.
Send it. All right. Interesting. It's a good discussion, Matt, for sure. But everyone at your club hates you now
Okay.
because you're an
Everybody
asshole.
likes Matt. No.
Exit out the back. Where's my water? I want the water on the stages, and this is too many moving targets. And
Since you brought that up, someone was complaining that I need to request individually like 16-ounce water, not just water, and it's supposed to be in a cooler.
no, this depends on the club you go to. So, like,
No, but that's how.
I've been to one club that has these tiny ass little bottles, and the deal is there, like, if you open the bottle, you're to finish it because you don't want like a half full 6-ounce bottle.
The water shots is what I call
Yeah,
them.
yeah. No, you're right.
Someone was
16
mad
ounce.
that. Well, just like individually sized, not a gallon jug, and not in a cooler.
Well,
It should be
get-
cooled off.
Well, the jug is not super helpful if you don't have a fucking water bottle.
I agree. I think they had cups at the last one I was at like that.
Oh, jeez. All right. Joel, are you going to bitch about matches or otherwise be an asshole like Hopkins?
I do have a trigger warning.
Oh, is this a frustration warning or more of a trigger warning,
Yeah.
would you say?
Frustration warning, probably is fair to say.
That's not a thing. It's a trigger warning because you know how the internet works. People are like,
Yes.
oh, Hopkins is so fucking triggered. He's so mad right now. It's not like he's like trying to come up with something to talk about. You know, it's like he's mad. Anyway, so tell us, what triggers
All right.
you, sir?
So people go, they shoot this match, they get done. Then, of course, they get on the internet and they start looking at the stats. It's like, what if I wouldn't have had that no shoot? I should have won that match. I don't like that. And here's why. That takes away from the person that won. So if Matt and I shoot this match together, I'm like, man, if I wouldn't have had that jam, those 2 mics, that no shoot, and those 3 deltas, I would have beat Matt. That's like saying, like, that guy that beat you didn't deserve to win. I really should have won. I'm better than that guy. I just had some mistakes.
Well,
Like,
I'll go you one better, Joel. Do you, like, if for example you're shooting nationals and your gun squibs the first stage, like, do you think that would change your approach on the subsequent stages?
Of course.
How might it change your approach, Joel?
Well, if you've zeroed a stage, you are more likely to go probably full, like, wide open, go for broke on the rest of those stages because you don't have anything to lose.
Or maybe the pressure's off and you just shoot better.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I can tell you, having been there, and most people will never be there, like, to have the feeling, but like when you're shooting with actually a title you give a fuck about on the line, and you know it's on the line, like, you know the scores, you know what's on the line, you know where everything sits, and you shoot with that pressure, it is like 1000% different than shooting the same stage on the same day without that.
Yeah.
And, like, it's kind of like if I watch a video of Max Michel shooting a stage at Nationals and, shooting it with, shredding it. And I look at that and like, that's pretty good. I think I could do better though. And then I go to my practice range and I shoot all day, and then I produce a run that looks the same on video. Like, well, that's cool.
Like, boom.
But one of these things isn't like the other.
You're as good as Max Michel then, right?
You're like a national champion then, right?
Yeah, basically, right? It's like, I mean, I wouldn't say it makes me angry, but it, like, I look at that and it's kind of like, I kind of think that like looking at it that way is sort of dumb. Like, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice.
All right, let me take it a different way. So
Yeah.
Matt and I are shooting this match against each other. I'm like, well, what if I could make this mistake? So what if what if his stage that he beat me on, but he felt he could do even better on? Oh, now Matt just beat me by more than he already beat me by. So it's like, you're not the only dude that could do what if. The guy that beat you, if he could what if, I'm sure he had something he would have wanted to improve also.
There's also a what if factor of what if you hadn't made the mistake and the competitor hadn't, like, maybe took it down a notch because he knew he was in the lead and had the lead.
Yeah.
Well,
and didn't have to push on it the rest of the, like.
It's like, you get what you get, no mulligans.
Well, the larger issue here is people look at match results and they tend to read into them the thing they want to read into them. Like, match results are fuzzy enough, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of a witchcraft, or like sort of a scientific wild ass guess, sort of a science thing, where I can read into match results whatever I want. So, like, if I want to look at the match results and then decide that I really am the best shooter at the match, even though I didn't win it, I could make that I could find a way to make the match results say the thing I want them to say.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, I beat this guy. Like, if I'm in C class, like, oh, look, I beat Matt Hopkins on this stage. You know what I mean? But what I'm ignoring is, like, oh, like, Matt Hopkins, his Shadow 2 took a complete shit on him on that stage. And I'm basically sort of.
Which hasn't ever happened yet.
Well, I'm just saying, what if, Matt? What if? I'm basically celebrating, like, that somebody's gun fucked up or that someone made a mistake. So it's, Matt, we have a friend in common who celebrates beating you on a stage that one time.
Yes.
And it's just kind of like, you realize you're basically like you're basically tap dancing because on the one stage in the 100 that you've shot against Matt, like, Matt had some catastrophic issue and you beat him on that stage.
I believe that person is up to 2 stages now, and it was from the same match.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, you're looking at the match results, like, well, I beat Matt on a stage. It's like, well, but yeah, but what really happened there is Matt fucked a stage up, and you got in front of him on a stage, and then he like had his way with you sexually for the rest of the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I was looking at this, like the whole picture here is that you need to do work, and that Matt's a lot better.
I think
Right?
there is something to that though.
What?
So like, if there's someone like to build on it as like, okay, you got him on that one stage, like next time maybe you can get him on two or something like that, like, and try to work up and like get better at it. Honestly, I did that coming up through the shooting
Yeah.
classes, and it was like, okay, I'm close to this guy now. I want to like get a little closer or match him. And then it was like, well, I'm matching him, so I want to beat him now. And then once you beat him a couple times, you're like, well, I need to pick someone else to beat. And
Yeah.
that honestly is
That
how I
makes
came up
sense.
through the sport.
As long
Doing
as you're
it-
not swinging for the bleachers, though. If it's like a 10-stage match,
No,
like,
no,
I'll
no,
just
no.
go swing for all these. I hook up on 3 of them, like, boom! 3 wins this time, you know? Like, that would not be good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting discussion as always. But Joel,
You have to be realistic with yourself on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
I
it's
mean,
easier to compare. So, like, say nationals in 2008, when I was B class, it was like, okay, so I could perform in the higher level classes on some stages, but overall performance was not there. So, like, I have the individual skill level to do that, to compete at that level. So I just gotta like learn how to do it more and more consistently and all the time.
yeah. I should say the smarter guys that I know, like the higher level guys that are smart, they tend to have a very realistic appraisal of match results and not try to shade their analysis of the match. Like there's a difference between like, well, Kim and I were discussing a match that he shot recently, and it's like, okay, well, this thing happened on this stage, and it's like that's a serious error, dude. That's like I would say like that was like 2% of the match right there, which you guys know 2%, like having a 2 or 3% swing in a match on one stage is a lot.
Yes.
How was
Right.
like my Iowa match on that one stage? It was like I
Was
lost
this
like
last year?
yeah, last year or 2 years ago, I think.
Was I
Maybe
there?
last year. Yeah, you were there.
Oh
You
yeah, it
you were
was
like you lost 5% on one stage, and
when
it
I
was like
talked to you about it. Oh yeah, so
Huh?
you 5% of the match on one stage,
yeah,
but that's like you're in a place like emotionally and intellectually where you can have that discussion, not like, well, damn it, I really belong at this percentage, and this is how it should have been. It's like, whoa, like there's an issue here. Like this was a big part of the match. Like this deserves attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to say there is a time where it is okay to play what if, after I've like said you're stupid if you do. So like
Yeah.
it's fresh in my mind. I went to Area 3, as Ben, you saw the video. I had like
Did I?
2 catastrophic jams on 2 stages. It was like 15 seconds to clear. Like no bueno. So I wanted just to do the math to see like, well, how much did that cost me? Like maybe where I would have ended up. That's not taking away from the person that won. I just like want to know. Or I could think of a stage where maybe I had a miss. And I'm like, maybe I went to slide lock on like a steel array, and I decided to leave that miss on that steel and not do a standing reload. Well, like I just want to do the math to see like, what did that really cost me? Should I have done the reload? What if I add like a second and a half? Does that make me a better score, a worse score? Like
Well-
kind of just like figuring out the scoring, that can be okay.
Well,
But
there's a difference between analyzing yourself sort of in a classy way, sort of privately, and like looking at it for what it is and making a plan for you to improve.
yes.
Then, like, I guess the other end of the spectrum would be being an asshole about it in public and
Yes.
trying to make it appear as though, I don't know, you're the best
You were owed
guy.
the win. Yeah.
Yes, the best solution is shut the fuck up and shoot. Like, and don't say anything. Like, don't go on the fucking internet making comments about how you feel you should have done at a match, because people don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, they may not say it, but they don't like that. No, nobody likes you. As a guy, I'm an expert at being disliked on the internet. Trust me, like nobody likes that. Should we move on to some questions?
Sounds
Hammer
awesome.
one out. Yeah.
Hammer one out, bro. We're gonna rub
You got
out
to
like
start with
3 of them.
one.
All
You
right.
gotta start
You're
with
right.
one.
You're right. You're right. Ben, maybe a question for a future podcast. I'm shooting he says shooting an S2. I'm guessing he means stock 2 because that would be the sensible choice. He could well mean shadow 2. I don't know.
I actually refer to the Shadow 2 as an S2
I
at
know.
work.
Like I have no idea what he's shooting. Why, when I do a build drill, my draw is 109, 111, 113, etc. And then if I stop and do a draw and one shot, I'm consistently 92, 95, 98, so less. Why is that?
I think this is an easy answer.
It's a simple answer, Matt, but it's not something that people want to hear. But go ahead and tell them.
Well, one shot it's a different in grip pressure from one shot to 6.
Well, it shouldn't be, maybe.
Well,
Right?
it is. It is.
Yes, it is.
And you can hammer a 90 out and shoot an A from your hip, and you can't shoot 6 shots like that from your hip.
Well, I could ask this question, Matt. Like, why, when I shoot a build drill, do I get like jailbait splits, the 16s, 17s, something like that? But if I'm shooting an actual stage and I see the target's at about that 5 to 7 yard range, I shoot like 21 or 22 splits.
Where's your focus?
Yeah, I mean, like the more elements you add into the thing that you're testing, like kind of the more shit every element gets.
Yeah.
Because you can only focus on one thing at a time. So like that is an entirely normal situation. Like you're adding in more elements, you're adding in more stuff. So therefore each little piece of it is not going to be like peak efficiency, or at the peak it could be. So that's an easy answer. Hi, Ben. First off, thanks for the books and podcast. I have learned a ton and have gained a better understanding of the sport. I apologize in advance for the long questions. Figured you're spending more time apologizing, huh? All right. I remember you saying that to the effect of a shooter's goal to be a GM, then start doing GM level things now. Taking your crew's advice and applying it to my training, I made it out of production B, and I'm now sitting at 82%. I can hang with the A-class guys at my local clubs across divisions. My question is, how do I know if I'm ready for M-class? I asked because I shoot with the GM and M at level 2, and they were notably better than me, particularly the M-class guy. He stage planned better, shot faster, and still made the same points. But the biggest difference was they were far more creative in how they applied their skills to each stage. I know I'm not as good as that M-class guy, so how long do I hang out in A? I mean, I think USPSA recently made some changes that'll probably keep him in A-class in perpetuity. But,
Jeez,
I mean,
dude.
what?
A lot of confidence
Come
there.
on now. Yeah.
What? USPSA just made some changes that are going to adjust how this thing plays, yeah?
It's definitely adjust the ramp up to skill level, I think.
Yeah, it's,
The classification.
yes, indeed. I'm not shitting on this guy. It's just like the game has changed, man. All right. So that's his question. How long do I hang out in A? That's his question.
Is he saying like tomorrow he can go be a master?
I don't know. He's saying what he said. Like,
All right, my turn.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
So when I just started practicing, I made M class. I did some classifiers. I'm like, hey, I could shoot some GM classifiers. I can't string them together, but every once in a while I would shoot some. In practice, I could shoot them. I'm like, hey, I have this where I just have to put these together and I'll make it. Well, then I practiced like crazy for a year thinking like, man, I'm going to make this. Like, I just need to string these together, do the stand and shoot stuff. Well, it ended up being really frustrating because all I wanted to do was make GM so bad, and that was like my focus. Instead, what I ended up doing was giving up, truthfully. Like this, whatever, I can't force this to happen. I'm just going to practice. So instead, I was like, whatever, I'm just going to try to do like the best I can in practice, and it matches. So I tried to make everything get better. I just kept training, getting better, and then when I finally gave up, like I don't even care if this happens anymore, then I made GM because I just kept working on other areas of my game and it happened. I know that sounds cheesy, but
It did, yeah, actually.
That kind of goes in
cheesy.
line with the thing Ben said earlier. If you squib the first stage of a match,
yeah.
I mean, it's exactly on the same lines of that.
I just
Right.
gave up because I'm like, man, I go to this match. It's like, this is classifier. I'm like, all right, this is a classifier match. This is where I'm gonna make it. And like, I need one more, whatever it is, you know. Like, oh, what could this do to my current percentage? I'm like pulling them up, you know, like my sheet on the at the range, seeing what I've got, what counts, and it's like that just added more pressure. If I would have just shot it the best I could, I would have had a better outcome than trying so hard and trying to force it to happen. And then it was just disappointing. So
Okay, so your advice is don't worry about classifiers.
no, like you can't make a decision like, hey, I'm ready to be a GM now. I'll just go earn that. Like you just keep training, you keep getting better.
Well, it'd be cool if you could.
Sure. What if, right?
What
It'd
if?
be cool.
So you just keep training, your technical skill gets better, and as you get better, like, hey, the next thing you know, you go and like, oh, M class, like, cool. And then you just keep training and you get better, and you know, your technical skill continues to improve, you do better at matches, and then it happens. You know, like it's with USPSA, it takes time. You have to keep practicing and building your skill, and you will get better. You
Yeah.
plateau along the way.
They say that everything worth doing takes time. I don't know if that's true though.
Sure.
That's what they say.
All
I don't
right.
know if USPSA is really worth doing. Like, like I filled a dumpster with brass and I shoot guns in dirt pits. It's kind of fun, and I have tinnitus a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun though. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
what we do here. All right, let's go to the next question. That's good advice, Joel. When do you think your practice stops going towards your next match? Example, I dry fire Monday to Thursday and shoot a match on Saturday morning. I focus on one or two things max per dry fire session. Like this week was transitions with a reload and entering positions with gun up pointed at the target. Is there a way to know what days practices will be getting used at the match? Thanks again. I like the new podcast format. Matt, do you want to take this or no?
I don't understand it. Like, is he asking like when you stop learning for a match?
I guess. I don't know. I could tell you.
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't.
I kind of read that as like, when do I stop trying to build technical skill before a match? You know, and I'm just like, I'm just kind of practicing generally, or like, you know, or versus. That's a good way of putting this. So, I think like a week or two before nationals, you're going to stop trying to improve, right? And just get comfortable. And just
Yes.
like focus on execution, be comfortable, make sure your gear works and all that shit. Okay. At some
Yeah.
point before a match, you're not really trying to improve anymore with your practice. You're just sort of building that comfort level or being acclimated to your gear and how all that works. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, when would that point normally be?
For a major match a couple weeks out, for a monthly match, like who cares? I'm just going to keep doing my thing for practice. And yeah, maybe like the one practice session. If you go out more than once a week, maybe one practice session before your local match. You don't go crazy if you've been pushing for speed. But otherwise, like my practice doesn't really change for some local match. Like who cares? So I keep training,
Why
building
would you shoot a
skill.
match you don't care about, Joel?
Oh, because
It's a
it's fun.
philosophical question for you.
Yes. But yeah,
Uh,
like you said, if it's a major match, yeah, like maybe I'll go crazy pushing for speed or whatever skill I'm working on. A couple weeks out from that, I'll just get comfortable, not make mistakes, work
Well,
on
like,
just behaving the way I want to behave at the
I
match.
can tell you for me, like the last time I went and practiced, well, I practice, I think you guys would agree that I'm a frequent practicer.
Yeah.
Like the day before I shot a club match, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to shoot my gun. Just be comfortable. I'm not really trying to make anything happen or do anything. It's just shoot my gun, hit all the stuff, be comfortable with it, make sure you cleaned it and it runs, and that's good enough. If it's a bigger match than that, it'll be longer. It might be a week. It might be two, depending on the match and kind of where I feel like I am in my training cycle. I remember before last year's nationals, I think I was just kind of in standby mode like that for 2 weeks. So I'd go shoot 100 or 200 rounds for a practice, And if I felt comfortable, which I think I did every day, I like felt good, like everything feels good, I'm done shooting for the day. This is done with.
You really would do it that far out?
I did. I mean, I did last year. Well, like it was where I was in my training cycle. It was like I shot 20,000 rounds in a month, then went to World Shoot, then came back, then I hammered on practice for a week, you know, and then for a couple weeks I was like, yeah, like nothing, like I'm not really going to get better right now. I feel like I'm in a good place. You know, it's going to be about like mental and emotional control at the match. It's not like it's not technical skill. It's not really going to be relevant for me. So it was depending on what I felt like. Sometimes I feel like I should be banging it out hard, like smashing it, but other times not, like not shooting a lot. It just depends on the match and what you're doing. For me, I cut out trying to make gains even before a club match because unlike Joel, I care about locals. I want to do well.
Uh-huh.
What's wrong, Joel?
I always want to do my best. How's that?
That's good. I mean, you can do whatever you want, man. You do you.
All right, then.
Yeah. That's my opinion anyway. I know, Matt, anything to add to that? Maybe not.
That really makes sense. I usually start like the weekend before if I'm not shooting another match.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if you have access
So
to a
then-
range or you're doing this or that. Like, everybody's situation is different, right? Anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead,
I think a week is pretty okay. Maybe 2 practice sessions.
for a major match.
Yeah, and the last one I do kind of like I'll go to the range maybe for 2 hours planned. But if I go there and like detail clean my gun for 30 minutes, clean all my mags, and maybe shoot 100 rounds and then make sure my gun's sighted in, okay.
Yeah.
But I know all my equipment squared away. I know my gun's sighted in. I shot it a little bit, ready to go.
So this could be like before you go to a club match. Maybe if you're doing your daily dry fire the day before your club match, like I'm not trying to get faster. Maybe I just take the part-timer away. Depending on your temperament and you know what you normally do for your training, you could just take the part-time away. Just dry fire your gun. Make sure you're hitting reloads and hitting draws, pulling the trigger straight, and be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I feel good. I'm gonna go shoot a match tomorrow. That's my focus. What do you think about that?
I like
Makes
it.
a lot of sense.
That's what I try to do, guys. I try to say shit that sounds like it makes sense if you don't pay attention too close. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming on. I think that's that's all the time we got for today. Mr. Joel from Omaha, Mr. Matt, smile. Joel, we're gonna get you photoshopped into something. What do you want to be photoshopped into
Ooh,
for the promotional art?
Top Gun, I'll be Goose. I don't know. What would need Matt though? Also, I don't know.
Matt would be the F-14.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
See? Or we could do the beach scene. Like Matt would be Tom Cruise, you would be Goose, and then I would be the volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Or Ninja Turtles. I don't think you've done that yet, have you?
That's 4 though.
Well, add
3
Kimmy.
Musketeers.
Could add Kim in. Kim would be like, well, Kim would be Splinter though, for a lot of pretty racist reasons.
Oh my god.
It feels like that's the way to be. Well, no, he's the smartest. He's the Asianist. He's the closest thing we have to a ninja. Right?
Yeah.
I guess.
No, I mean, like, for real. Like, I don't know. Like, but Donatello's also smart. So if he has to be a turtle, he'd be Don.
Okay.
Who would be the headstrong douchebag? Who's my Raphael? That's what I need to know.
That's
I don't
a
think
strong
there's any
one.
question about that one.
What are you trying to say?
Sounds like you're personally like projecting there.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know. What do you mean?
I don't know. Anyway, that's a good time to end it, guys. Thank you so much. Listeners, if you have a question you want the answer to, go to bensteger.com. Send me your question. Let me know which Ninja Turtle you think Matt should be.
You want to be Michelangelo? That's one who likes pizza.
He's
Pizza's
the
boss.
fun one. He is the fun